You ever been scrolling on Amazon and it suggests the exact thing you were just thinking about? Or how about when Netflix just knows the perfect movie for your Friday night, almost like it's reading your mind? Well, I can tell you, it's not magic, and it's definitely not a lucky guess. So let's get into it because what you're really seeing is a super powerful strategy that turns just massive amounts of data into smart, winning decisions.
So, how on earth do they do it? The secret behind all this is a big idea called business intelligence, or BI for short. It's the whole framework that companies use to basically listen to their data, understand their customers, and, yeah, get a serious leg up on the competition. In this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how it all works.
At its heart, business intelligence is kind of the master plan for turning raw, messy data into real insights you can actually use. And it's not just one piece of software. It's a whole ecosystem of tools and processes that captures, stores, analyzes, and then presents information in a way that makes sense. Think of it as the brain of the whole operation, making sense of all the noise so that leaders can make smarter, faster decisions. But before you can have any kind of intelligence, you need good data. And that data, it needs a home. It all starts with the most fundamental building block of the entire system, the database. Okay, so the whole journey really begins right here with something called a relational database. The best way to think about it is like a super organized digital library. Everything has its own specific place, stored neatly in tables with rows and columns. And this structure is absolutely critical because it lets a business manage all of its day-to-day operational info smoothly and reliably. And getting organized like this pays off in a big way. It gives you flexibility to handle changes, it's scalable so it can grow as the business grows, and it cuts down on redundancy so you're not storing the same piece of information over and over. Most importantly, it improves the quality and the integrity of the data, and it boosts security, which is huge when you're protecting a company's most valuable asset, its information. You see this in action all the time, probably without even realizing it. Every time you're on an e-commerce site and see the real-time stock levels, or you go to book a flight and it tells you how many seats are left, you're interacting with a data-driven website. It's all powered by a database in the background that's constantly updating and giving you dynamic info based on what you do. Okay, so we have all this organized data from our daily operations. But why are we even collecting it? Well, that brings us to the ultimate goal of this entire process: achieving genuine business intelligence. This is what's known as the data value chain. It's basically a transformation pipeline. You start with raw data, which is just a chaotic cloud of numbers and text. Then, through analysis, that data gets processed into useful information. Think charts and graphs. When you start to understand the patterns in that information, it becomes knowledge. And finally, when you use that knowledge to make smart, strategic decisions, that's wisdom. That transformation is really the heart and soul of BI. Now, that daily database, our digital library, is fantastic for running the business day to day, but it's not really designed for deep historical analysis. For that, you need something bigger, something more specialized. You need a data warehouse. Let's go back to our library analogy. If that operational database is your local library handling daily check-ins and checkouts, then the data warehouse is the giant national archive. It's not dealing with daily transactions. Instead, its job is to store years, even decades of historical data from all over the company, all preserved specifically for deep analysis and research. So the big takeaway here is that a data warehouse is a central repository. It pulls in and consolidates information from tons of different sources: sales, marketing, inventory, you name it, and brings it all into one single logical place. Its entire purpose is to support high-level analysis and help with those big strategic decisions. So how does all that data actually get into the warehouse? It's through a process called ETL: extract, transform, and load. First, the data is extracted from all those different sources. Then it's transformed, which means it gets cleaned up and put into a standard format. And finally, it's loaded into that central data warehouse, all ready for analysts to start digging in. And I have to say, that transform step is absolutely critical. It's also called information cleansing or scrubbing. This is the part where you weed out and fix all the inconsistent, incorrect, or incomplete data. Because, let's be real, if you put garbage data into your warehouse, you're just going to get garbage analysis out of it. Quality is everything here.
All right, our National Archive, the data warehouse, is built. It's stocked with clean, historical data. Now comes the really exciting part, sifting through that entire archive to find the hidden treasure. This is where data mining comes into play.
You know, this quote just nails the problem that data mining is here to solve. A company can have just mountains of data, but without the right tools, it's literally impossible for a human to make sense of it all. You end up in this data-rich but information-poor situation. You have the answers, you just have no idea what questions you should even be asking. Data mining is the answer. It's the process of using these powerful, automated tools to do the detective work for you. It digs through the data to find valuable information that just isn't obvious on the surface, uncovering hidden trends, surprising patterns, and unexpected connections that can lead to some major business breakthroughs.
So, how do they do this detective work? Well, analysts have a whole toolkit for this, but let's just look at a couple of the most common and powerful techniques they use.
First up is something called cluster analysis. This technique automatically divides a whole dataset into groups, or clusters, where everybody in a group is similar to one another. So for example, a retailer could use this to sift through millions of customers and automatically find distinct groups, like high spenders, or weekend shoppers, or bargain hunters. Then they can market to each group in a much more targeted way.
Next up, we've got association detection. This one is all about finding these hidden relationships between different things. The classic and totally true example is a grocery store that discovered that men who bought diapers on a Friday night were also super likely to buy beer. Once they detected that association, they moved the beer aisle closer to the diapers and, yep, sales for both went up.
So let's bring it all home. From that organized database to the massive data warehouse to these powerful data mining tools, this whole BI process is being used everywhere. Airlines use it to figure out the most popular flight routes. Banks use it to detect credit card fraud in real time. Marketers use it to really understand their customers. Even law enforcement uses it to predict and track crime patterns. The ability to turn data into decisions isn't just a competitive advantage anymore. For a lot of companies, it's a necessity for survival and growth. And it leaves us all with one final, really important question to think about for any organization. What valuable patterns are just waiting to be discovered, hidden deep inside your data?